Okay, so what is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and welcome to what I'm going to say is a much different idea from what it is I wanted to do with this video originally. And I do apologize for that to a degree. I really did want to make a video dedicated just to talking about this one thing, but the more I thought about it, the more that I kind of started running it through my head, the more I realize I don't feel qualified talking about it, and I don't really feel like I am the right person who can educatedly talk about what the implications of having this be in what I'm going to be talking about is, or anything like that. And I know I'm being very vague about that. Don't worry, it'll all make sense in a second. So I decided I just can't make a whole video about it, so I am just going to be talking more just about oh my god, that was so pretty, all that kind of stuff, more general because I just don't feel comfortable talking about it. I apologize for that. I just don't feel comfortable talking about it myself. I have a lot of beliefs in a lot of different things, and I never want to offend people with anything I talk about, and I'm always worried about offending people with anything that I say. So I'm just going to decide to just kind of push this to the side until I can either think of a better way of talking about it or something else, because I don't really know how to talk about it. Also, just the playing field has changed so much from what I've seen so far, and I feel like I just can't not talk about it. So, with that all being said, I'm gonna give a big spoiler warning right here. If you haven't seen the most recent episode of RWBY or any stuff for RWBY so far, I highly recommend you go check that out, or just log off this video and check that out, or just don't watch this video because I'm going to be spoiling a lot of what happened in the most recent episode of RWBY and talking about a few different points and things that have happened over the course of the show because I need to. There's so much stuff that's happened so far, and I just need to talk about it because it's a lot. It is absolutely a lot. Um, so without further ado, without further delaying it from me, here we go with what I honestly was going to talk about last week, but then I ended up not talking about it because I wanted to take the time to be able to thank you guys for really all the work you guys did in getting my channel to where it is now. And I can't do any of the stuff that I'm doing without you guys, and I wanted to talk about that first, and that's kind of where a lot of the delay in talking about this came from. But now that I have thanked you guys for that, I do want to start talking about this, which is the Bumblebee kiss. I've kept you guys waiting long enough to hear my opinion on this amazing scene that we've gotten, and I want to talk about this scene so badly because this scene was absolutely amazing. I mean, I'm not much of a shipper. I will be the first to admit that. It's, I guess, just I believe that a character will end up with whoever they're going to end up with, and that's fine. Blake could have ended up with anyone, and so long as she ended up happy with it, that's all I care about. Because I care about these characters a lot. I love these characters so much, and so long as it makes sense, and so long as the character ends up happy to any capacity, and it feels like a natural flow to it, then I'm happy with that. I don't need anything more than that. And Bumblebee, it's something that I noticed for something, but I never really thought much of it when someone pointed it out to me in Volume 2. But then, as the years went by and as we saw more and more of Blake and Yang developing on screen, I started being able to see it too. And I started saying that, yeah, I could see them pushing it in that direction. I didn't want them ever to force it. I never wanted to be one of the ones who was saying, bring us Bumblebee, bring us Bumblebee. But it's just I wanted them to have the time to flow and make it work however they were going to do. And I will say they hands down delivered. And it's I've had my fair share of having trouble. I mean, I'm having trouble as it is right now talking about how I feel about this scene. And it's just I have trouble expressing my feelings. And it's just seeing something as passionate as love and the way that they kind of went about talking about it, because it's not an easy thing to do, confessing your feelings to someone, especially with everything that they've been through together. It's not an easy thing to do. And seeing how they had to overcome that, seeing how they struggled to be able to figure out their thoughts and figure out how they were going to go about getting over it, I thought was beautiful. Just on its own, that was amazing. And the music, the atmosphere for it all, the blush, the coloring, all of that came together to make this scene something that was absolutely beautiful. I was bawling when I saw that scene because it was just so lovely. And I don't want to say necessarily, oh yeah, we've been waiting for this. It's just like we got here. And that's all I care about is that we got here and that they're happy together now and that they have all of this together. And I'm so happy for Blake and Yang that they have this, and I'm interested to see where they develop it. I Part of me does want to see a lot more of it, but I mean that's just because I'm a sucker for a good love story. I love seeing characters fall in love and seeing them develop on screen the way that Blake and Yang have. And seeing anything for Blake and Yang, I'd love to see it. But I mean, we don't need that to be the focus, especially with what we've seen as of late. And that is where I'm going to shift into talking about the other part of the more recent episode with RWBY. This poor girl has been through so much. I, it's just this is what I wanted to talk about with this. It's just like RWBY has been through so much since the start of the season. She had the weight of being a leader pushed on her really young. And I mean, then she seemed like she was figuring a lot of stuff out, and the team accepted that she was not going to be perfect, and they were willing to support her. That's how it felt, at least to me back then. But then, like, after that, so many different things happened. Much fell onto RWBY. She had to be the one who pushed forward to try to get to the relics. She was the one who had to figure things out when the world basically fell apart with the beacon falling. She had to be the one to come up with a plan to save Atlas, which didn't end up working. This poor girl had all this weight put on her. She had all this guilt put on her that she did not deserve. None of this. I, I don't necessarily want, like, there are parts of this where it's like, it could have been handled better. But I don't want to blame RWBY for any of this. None of this was her fault. She had so much put on her that she had to figure out all on her own, and she did the best she could with it. And I know hearing that isn't really a saving grace. People can say they put their best to anything and it just doesn't work out the way that you hoped it would. And I mean, like, especially when we're talking about the lives of people who died because of this plan of RWBY's. To that, I say just at least she didn't just sit there doing nothing. She tried. She did everything she could to try to protect people. And she did what she thought was best given what she had at her fingertips in that moment. And I'm proud of RWBY for taking that step in that. I wish that people would have reached out to her and just be like, are you okay? Because she was not over the course of this volume. And I mean, like, it showed all the way in the culmination of this scene. I wish that Yang or someone like that would have just reached out to RWBY, and it just felt like every time they're just like, what's your deal? What's your problem? Why are you not moving fast enough? Why? And I'm like, chill. RWBY's been through so much. We gave Jean the time to grieve his. Give RWBY time. Please. And it just felt like they never, ever considered that she would be the one who's just cracking under the pressure of all of this. And it's like, I get that. RWBY's been the most positive force of this entire show. She has more or less held the entire weight of the show on her shoulders to a lot of degrees. She's a lot of what pushes forward a lot of stuff. She's that positive energy that's like, listen, I know things are tough right now. We have to keep fighting. No one asked her to do that. She did that because she is just that amazing of a person. And to see just the way that got repaid in this hurt. It hurt me to see. And I know Yang and RWBY had that scene in not volume 7, volume 8. I'm sorry. In volume 8, talking about risk and how things just won't work out sometimes. I needed more. I just like RWBY is young and she's had so much hurt. She hurt so much and no one's talking about it. She messed up, yes. Give her the time to talk about it and give her the time to realize things didn't work out. Let's grow from it. I wanted to see more of that for RWBY, and it's sad to see that because of the fact that she never got that chance to do it, this is where we ended up. That she's just not okay being her. And that's such a terrible thing for a person to have to go through. We enter this world, we don't know who it is we want to be. We spend our lives trying to figure that out. To be ashamed of who you are is the worst thing that can happen to anyone. I hated who I was at one point, and that made so many things so much harder. And I can only imagine what that's like for Ruby with how big the stakes got to bring her to this point. I theorized for a while that she was going to end up reincarnating, that she was going to revive, like she was gonna drink the tea, that she was gonna revive herself, become part of the tree, because that's just the mentality that she's come to with this. And I was praying to God that we never reached that point. When we did it, it hurt seeing it. And it hurt even more. And I love shows that hurt because it means that I cared about this show so much. And it's like, I understand like you never want to experience these feelings on a regular basis, but it's just like there's something that's so powerful about feeling these things. And it's something that I loved about Neo is that we've always gotten that from her. It's always been her pain that we've gotten to see. Because, I mean, she was just a background character that we saw working alongside Roman before Roman died. Once Roman was gone, every scene we see is her in pain. Her dealing and grieving with the loss of Roman. Her trying to atone, her not trying to atone, her trying to rectify that by killing Ruby. And then she finally got her chance. And she said, "Oh, you don't deserve to die. You deserve to be broken." That speaks just how shattered Neo is and just how pushed to the edge she became. And it's the thing that I love about Neo, and the thing I loved about her song in One Thing. She lost the one thing that kept her sane, the one thing that meant the entire world to her. She's crazy. And we got to see that on full display with this meticulous breaking apart of Ruby to push her to the same edge she ended up reaching. It's dark stuff, and it hurts, but I love seeing it because I care about these characters so much, and seeing this here meant so much as far as a world building, a character building, and so much more. My only complaint with it is I don't like I understand like Neo spent the entirety of the time that she's been on screen since her return trying to kill Ruby. And now that she's finally got it, it's like, well, what more am I supposed to do? I feel like it still happened a little too fast for my liking. I feel like she should like relish that, like, yes, finally, Roman will be, it's sweet relief when you rest in peace. That's what they said in One Thing. She finally got that for Roman. And I feel like she should have relished that a little bit before shutting down the way that she did. Again, it all felt too fast to me. But still, there's so much about this scene that I loved being able to see, and that it showed off so much of not only Ruby, but Neo's character in that. And I want to see so much more of that too in the show. This is an absolutely great episode, and I'm nervous to see what they're going to do. We have only 2 episodes left in this volume. I'm scared of where they're going to take these next 2. Because they have so many ways they can go, and it's finally in that point again where I can't predict anything that's going to happen. And I'm excited to see where they end up taking. With that being said, I think I'm going to wrap this video up here. Thank you for listening to me rant and ramble for a lot of this stuff, or not even rant, but just like gush about how much I love this episode, how much I love what they've done with Ruby so far, how much I love Bumblebee. I could probably talk a little bit more, but mostly it's just like I can't talk about like the implications of just having these 2 characters kiss, but I can talk about how pretty it was, how strong it was, how much it develops them as characters, and how happy I am. In the end, I believe that love is love. I believe that people should be free to express their love however they see fit to. But I'm not qualified to talk about the implications of what that means as far as Ruby and them doing it. I'm just happy that we have it. And I'm happy to see that Yang and Blake get to have this development with each other. With that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to check out my other videos. Be sure to just share what I have to say with it, because I'd love to be able to get to talk to people who feel the same way or who are willing to have these discussions about the show, because I love the show so much. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll check you guys out later.